Bob's your uncle, butter somebody up, and a white elephant. What do these expressions mean and where do they come from? The first one, Bob's your uncle. One of my favorite English expressions, by the way, which may be used as a comment when you finish explaining some kind of a process or procedure to somebody. To paraphrase it, it means here you go, or and there it is, or if you feel the French voila, you may freely exchange it to Bob's your uncle. A common theory, and the reason why we use it, is behind the act of nepotism. In 1887, a conservative prime minister named Robert, so in short Bob, appointed his nephew as the chief secretary for Ireland. Of course, the decision and the event itself was very unpopular and we may assume condemned by the other members of the parliament or the public. And regardless of the qualifications the nephew might have had, having a powerful and influential uncle was the biggest advantage. And thanks to this unpopular decision, we may enrich our language. Next one, to butter somebody up. Have you ever felt somebody flattered you, but you had the feeling that it wasn't genuine, it wasn't for real? They did it just to get something from you or make you agree to something? If somebody is too polite and pays you compliments, but they have hidden intentions, they butter you up. And you may use some more vulgar synonymous expressions to this one, such as to suck up to somebody or kiss somebody's ass. And why butter? I wouldn't ever have come up with the origins myself. It comes from an ancient Indian custom of throwing balls of butter at statues of the gods while asking them for favors. And look, it wasn't just a pure act of worship. They threw the butter so they felt the gods will give them all the things they asked for. Number 3, a white elephant. I bet you have or had at some point in your life a useless item which either cluttered your house or just collected dust on the shelf. But you didn't get rid of it because it was too valuable or it was a gift and you didn't feel like throwing it away, although you didn't like it anyway. So there still stands a useless but pricey item that just takes space in your house. And that's a white elephant. And to learn the origins of this expression, we must go back in time to Siam, which today is known as Thailand. White elephants used to be very rare and sacred in this region, hence very valuable and desirable. Since they were sacred, they weren't used for any practical purposes as other breeds of elephants, such as the grey ones, so very often they turned out to be a burdensome possession. They still demanded a lot of care, expensive food and housing, so very often their owners fell into a financial ruin. Moreover, the king knew very well how much trouble they may cause, so if somebody fell into the king's disfavor, they could have expected being given a gift of a white elephant. And it was out of the question to receive their gift lukewarmly, since it was a gift from a monarch. So there they were, the owners of the white elephants, stuck with a pricey possession which caused a lot of troubles and effort bigger than it's worth. And here we are today using the expression when we are left with fruitless investments and possessions which don't bring any benefits. Next one is die hard. Die hard, used as an adjective or a noun, describes a person who is so stubborn and narrow-minded and dedicated to their own beliefs that they cannot be persuaded to look at the world from a wider perspective. They oppose anything that is not in accordance with the state of mind. And who would have thought this expression comes from the times where people were hanged, and those who struggled the longest during the very act of the execution were called diehards. And the expression had its rebirth during Napoleonic times, where during one battle, allegedly, the soldiers were ordered and motivated by a wounded British officer called William Inglis to stay in the battlefield till the very end, whether wounded or not, and they were ordered to die hard. Fortunately, we use it today in a more metaphorical sense, but the stubbornness, dedication, and persistence remained. And talking about the battlefield, let's have a look at the next one, to take the French leave. Believe it or not, allegedly there was a period in the French English history when the nations tried to have a closer relationship and had parties together. And the expression, to take the French leave, was coined after the 7 Years' War. And the origins? Supposedly, the French used to leave parties organized by the Brits without saying goodbye to the host. Such a disgrace. The Brits must have been infuriated. So we're not coining a term referring to this impolite behavior. A funny thing is that the French have the same expression referring to the English. So will we ever know who was the first one to leave the party too early without telling anyone? Or who used to abandon a battlefield because they chickened out? Because the expression was also used to describe soldiers who left the battlefield in a rush, like cowards. We will never know, but we can use it today when somebody leaves the place without saying goodbye. Partying, hosting, we are such social animals. And yet, we may be faced with a situation when somebody we don't really like or we don't really want to host comes around. So what were you supposed to do in the past when something like that happened? You could open the door, you could say hi, and you could pretend you are welcoming warmly this uninvited guest. But you would serve them a piece of cold meat from the shoulder of mutton, pork, or beef. And for your uninvited guest, it was a polite message that they may leave now. And this practice of giving a piece of cold meat from the shoulder of an animal became so common that the term to give somebody a cold shoulder was coined. And this expression today means to treat somebody in a very unfriendly, cold, and indifferent way. And the last one for today, to be caught or get caught red-handed. If you are caught red-handed, you are caught in the very act of doing something wrong, whether committing a crime, cheating on somebody, or lying. Centuries ago, the only way to collect strong evidence against somebody who committed a crime was to either catch them in the act or catch them with blood on their hands. And this happened in the case of a murder, or in the case when somebody stole an animal from the neighbor, let's say, or from some village, and butchered the animal that wasn't their own. So if they caught them with blood on their hands before the culprits had a chance to wash them out, then they had strong evidence against them. And hence the expression we use today. So we can call it a day. Hope you learned something today with me. And it was Kasia speaking to you. Till next time. Bye-bye.